Picture this. A man stands in his corner office on the 40th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights below. Everything he ever wanted is right here. The title, the salary, the respect. He builds this from nothing to everything in just 15 years. But right now, at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, he's standing at those windows with his chest so tight he can barely breathe. His hands are shaking, and for the first time in his adult life, he has no idea what's wrong with him. His name is Marcus. He's 42 years old, and he's about to discover that being strong and being emotionally fit are two completely different things. This is his story, but it might also be yours. Welcome to PsychSagaStories. You don't know who I am, and that's how it should be. What matters is this. The voice you are hearing is real, not AI, not a robot, just a human sharing real stories about the human mind. Before we begin, a quick note. This story is for educational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional mental health support. If you are struggling, please reach out to a qualified therapist or counselor. With that being said, let's dive in. Marcus Chen had everything figured out by the time he was 30, or at least that's what everyone thought. That's what he saw too. He grew up in a working-class neighborhood where his parents ran a small restaurant. They worked 16 hours days, 6 days a week. No complaints, no excuses, just work. His father had one piece of advice he repeated constantly. Emotions don't pay the bills, son. Hard work does. So Marcus learned early. Feeling tired? Push through. Feeling scared about a test? Study harder. Feeling hurt when kids made fun of his accent? Ignore it and focus on grades. Emotions were like speed bumps, things that slowed you down on the road to success. And it worked. Full scholarship to college, top of his class, MBA from a top business school. At 35, he became the youngest vice president at a major tech company. At 40, he was being courted for CEO positions. His colleagues described him as unflappable. His boss called him a machine in the best possible way. During the pandemic, when everyone else was falling apart, Marcus was the calm one. While others stressed about layoffs, he made the hard decisions without flinching. Cut 30% of the staff? Done. Restructured 3 departments in a week? No problem. You are made of steel, his boss told him after a particularly brutal quarter. Marcus smiled. He took it as the highest compliment. It started small. A tension headache that wouldn't go away. Marcus chalked it up to stress and took some pills. Then came the neck pain. Then the shoulder tiredness. His doctor said it was just muscle tension from sitting at a desk all day. Take breaks, stretch more. Marcus tried, but the pain didn't leave. Then came the stomach issues. Bloating after every meal, a constant feeling of heaviness in his gut. Another doctor, more tests. Nothing wrong physically. Probably just stress, they said. Maybe irritable bowel syndrome. Try reducing caffeine. Marcus reduced caffeine. The stomach issues stayed. He started waking up at 3 a.m. and couldn't fall back asleep. His mind would race with work problems, decisions he made 6 months ago, conversations he should have had differently. He'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, chest tight, mind spinning. Just anxiety, he told himself. Everyone gets anxious sometimes. But here's what Marcus didn't know, what nobody had ever taught him. His body was trying to talk to him, and it was getting louder because he refused to listen. See, there's something researchers call the body keeping the score. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, a psychiatrist who spent decades studying trauma and stress, discovered something fascinating. Our bodies don't forget what our minds try to ignore. When we push down emotions, fear, anger, sadness, shame, they don't just disappear into thin air. They get stored in our muscles, in our nervous system, in our gut. The body literally keeps a record of every emotion we refuse to process. And Marcus? He had been storing emotions for over 30 years. The breaking point came on an ordinary Wednesday. Marcus was in a meeting with his executive team, quarterly review, numbers on screens, everyone talking about growth projections, standard stuff he'd done 100 times. Then his CEO made a joke, something small, something about Marcus always being too perfect to have real problems. Everyone laughed. It was harmless, friendly even, but something inside Marcus snapped. His chest got tight, really tight. His vision started to tunnel. The voices in the room became distant, like he was underwater. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. He stood up abruptly. "Excuse me," he managed to say, and walked out. He barely made it to the bathroom, leaned against the sink, couldn't catch his breath, sweating, heart racing, absolutely convinced he was having a heart attack. 20 minutes later he was in an ambulance. 4 hours later, after every test came back normal, a doctor sat down next to his hospital bed. "Mr. Chen, physically your heart is fine. What you experienced was a panic attack." Marcus stared at him. "That's impossible. I don't get panic attacks. I don't have anxiety." The doctor smiled gently. "Your body would disagree." The hospital recommended Marcus to see a therapist. He resisted at first. "I'm not crazy," he told his wife. "Nobody said you are crazy," she replied quietly. "But you are also not okay." She was right, Marcus knew it. For the first time in his life, being strong wasn't working anymore. The therapist's name was Dr. Sarah Mitchell. She was in her 50s, calm, and didn't seem impressed by his title or success. In their first session, she asked him a simple question. "When was the last time you cried?" Marcus thought about it and thought about it. I don't know. Maybe when my father died? That was 8 years ago. And before that? I honestly can't remember." Dr. Mitchell nodded. "Tell me about your father." Marcus talked about him. The restaurant, the long hours, the sacrifice, the strength. "Did he ever talk about his feelings?" she asked. "No, never. That wasn't what we did." "And when he died, did you take time to grieve?" Marcus shook his head. "I took 3 days off for the funeral. Then I came back to work. There was a big project deadline. People were counting on me." Dr. Mitchell leaned forward. "Marcus, I want to explain something to you. What you've been doing your whole life, pushing down emotions, staying strong, never stopping to feel things, it's not actually strength. It's suppression. And there's a huge difference." She explained it like this. Imagine your emotions are like a pressure cooker. Every time you feel something uncomfortable, stress, anger, fear, sadness, you're turning up the heat. But instead of releasing the steam through the valve, you are just locking the lid tighter and tighter. For a while, the cooker holds. You feel strong, in control, unshakable. But eventually, the pressure becomes too much. And when it finally releases, it doesn't just whistle. It explodes. That's what happened to Marcus in that meeting. His body couldn't hold the pressure anymore. Over the next few weeks, Dr. Mitchell taught Marcus things nobody had ever explained to him. She told him about research from Stanford University, where psychologist James Gross studied what happens when people suppress their emotions. The findings were shocking. When you suppress emotions, your sympathetic nervous system, your body's stress response, actually increases. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure rises, stress hormones like cortisol flood your system. But here's the kicker. The person suppressing their emotions doesn't feel calmer. They just feel numb, disconnected, like they are going through life behind a glass wall. Studies showed that people who habitually suppress emotions are more likely to experience chronic stress and burnout, depression and anxiety disorders, physical symptoms like headaches, stomach problems, muscle pain, weakened immune system, higher risk of heart disease, Problems in relationships because others can read their emotions. Marcus listened to all this and felt something he rarely allowed himself to feel. Scared. So what do I do? He asked. I can just fall apart every time I feel something. I have responsibilities. People depend on me. Dr. Mitchell smiled. That's the beautiful thing, Marcus. Emotional fitness isn't about falling apart. It's about being strong enough to feel. Dr. Mitchell explains that emotional fitness is like physical fitness. You don't go to the gym and lift weights until your muscles tear and collapse. That's not fitness. That's injury. Real fitness is about building capacity, learning proper form, understanding your limits, getting stronger over time. Emotional fitness works the same way. It's not about expressing every emotion at maximum intensity all the time. That's not healthy either. It's about having a flexible relationship with your emotions, feeling them, understanding them, and choosing how to respond to them. She taught Marcus something called the Emotion Regulation Toolkit, based on research from psychologist James Gross. There are actually many different ways to handle emotions, and the healthiest people use different strategies for different situations. Here are the main ones. Cognitive reappraisal. This means changing how you think about a situation before the emotion gets too intense. For example, if someone cuts you off in the traffic, you can think, they're probably rushing to an emergency, instead of, they're a terrible person who disrespects me. Research shows this is one of the healthiest strategies. It reduces stress, improves well-being, and doesn't have the negative effect of suppression. Acceptance. This means allowing yourself to feel the emotion without judging it or trying to change it. Just noticing. I am feeling angry right now. That's okay. Anger is a normal human emotion. Studies show that people who practice acceptance have better mental health, less anxiety, and more resilience during difficult times. Problem solving. If the emotion is pointing to a real problem, you address the problem. Feeling stressed about a deadline, break the project into smaller steps. Feeling hurt because someone said something insensitive, have a conversation with them about it. Healthy expression. Finding appropriate ways to let the emotion out. Talking to a friend, writing in a journal, going for a run, crying when you need to cry. What Marcus had been doing, suppression, wasn't even on the list of healthy strategies, because research clearly shows suppression doesn't work. It just delays the breakdown. Learning these concepts was one thing, actually using them was harder. Dr. Mitchell gave Marcus some exercises to start practicing. The body scan. Every day Marcus had to spend 5 minutes just noticing physical sensations in his body, not trying to fix anything, just noticing. Where do you feel tension? Does your chest feel tight or open? Is your jaw clenched? What's happening in your stomach? The first time Marcus tried this, he was shocked. His shoulders were up by his ears. His jaw was so clenched it hurt. His stomach felt like a rock. He'd been walking around like this for years and never even noticed. Naming emotions. Research shows that simply naming what you feel reduces its intensity. There's even a fancy term for it, affect labeling. So Marcus practiced. Instead of just feeling bad, he'd ask himself, am I angry, sad, anxious, disappointed, overwhelmed? At first he couldn't tell the difference. Everything just felt like stress. But slowly he started to recognize different feelings, and something amazing happened. Once he could name them, they felt less overwhelming. The pause button. Whenever he felt a strong emotion rising, instead of immediately pushing it down or reacting to it, he'd pause, take 3 deep breaths, ask himself, what I am feeling right now? What is this emotion trying to tell me? This created space between feeling and action, and in that space he could choose his response instead of just reacting automatically. But here's the thing about change. It's not a straight line. There were days Marcus felt like he was making progress. He'd notice a feeling, name it, talk about it, feel lighter afterward. And then there were days he slipped right back into old patterns, like the day his team missed a major deadline. Marcus felt anger rising, hot, sharp anger. The old Marcus would have suppressed it, stayed professional, made cold, calculated decisions about consequences. But now he paused, felt the anger, recognized it. And then he didn't know what to do with it. He went home that night frustrated with himself, called Dr. Mitchell. I felt the anger, he said. I didn't suppress it, but I also didn't know how to handle it. So I just stood there feeling angry and confused. Dr. Mitchell laughed gently. Marcus, that's progress. How is that progress? I felt terrible. Because you felt. Period. For the first time in probably decades, you let yourself experience anger fully instead of pushing it away. That's huge. She explained something important. Emotional fitness isn't about always knowing the perfect thing to do. It's about being present with whatever you are feeling. The wisdom about how to respond comes later with practice. Your whole life you've been training yourself to suppress, she said. You're incredibly good at it. Now you are learning a completely new skill. Of course, it's going to feel awkward at first. That's normal. Over the next 6 months, something shifted in Marcus. The physical symptoms started to ease. The headaches became less frequent. His stomach settled. He started sleeping through the night more often. But the bigger changes were harder to measure. He started having actual conversations with his wife instead of just talking about logistics. She cried the first time he told her he was scared about something. I've been waiting 20 years to hear you say that, she said. At work, he started checking in with his team differently. Instead of just asking, is the project on track? He'd ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling about this? At first, his team looked at him like he'd grown a second head, but slowly they opened up, and he realized they'd been suppressing their emotions too, trying to match his unflappable energy. When they started being honest about stress, fear, and overwhelm, the team actually became more productive, not less, because they were addressing problems earlier instead of pretending everything was fine until it exploded. One of his employees said something that stuck with him. I thought being professional meant never showing emotion, but now I realize it means knowing how to work with your emotions instead of against them. Marcus wrote that down, put it on his desk. 6 months into therapy, Dr. Mitchell asked Marcus a question. What does strength mean to you now? Marcus thought about it carefully. I used to think strength mean never breaking, he said. Like being made of stone, immovable, unaffected. And now? Now I think strength is more like bamboo. Dr. Mitchell raised an eyebrow. Bamboo bends in the wind, Marcus explained. It's flexible, it moves, but it doesn't break. That's real strength, not rigidity, flexibility. He'd learned that emotional fitness is exactly this, flexibility. It's having the strength to feel fear without being paralyzed by it, the courage to feel sadness without drowning in it, the wisdom to feel anger without destroying things, the openness to feel joy without waiting for the other shoe to drop. Research backs this up. Studies on emotional regulation show that people who are psychologically resilient aren't the ones who never feel negative emotions. They are the ones who can feel a full range of emotions and still function effectively. They are emotionally fit. One of the biggest shifts for Marcus was understanding that his body wasn't his enemy. For years, when his body sent signals, tension, pain, fatigue, he saw them as weaknesses to overcome. Push through the headache, Ignore the stomachache. Sleep is for the weak. But Dr. Mitchell taught him something revolutionary. Your body is incredibly wise. Pain is information. Tension is communication. Fatigue is feedback. When Marcus's shoulders tensed up, his body was saying, "You're carrying too much. Something needs to change." When his stomach hurt, his body was saying, "This situation doesn't feel right. Pay attention." When he couldn't sleep, his body was saying, "There's something unresolved that needs your attention." The body keeps the score. Dr. van der Kolk was right about that. But it's not punishing you. It's trying to protect you. Marcus started treating his body like a trusted advisor instead of an obstacle to overcome, and everything changed. When he felt tension rising, instead of pushing it through, he'd pause and ask, "What is my body trying to tell me?" Sometimes the answer was simple: "I need to eat, I need to rest, I need to move." Sometimes it was deeper: "I'm in a situation that doesn't align with my values. I'm afraid of failing. I'm angry about something I haven't addressed." But let's be honest about something. This work is hard. Marcus had days, lots of them, where he wanted to go back to the old way, where he wished he could just flip the off switch on feelings and go back to being the machine. Feeling things hurt sometimes, really hurt. There was the grief about his father he'd never processed, the sadness about relationships he'd sacrificed for his career, the fear that he'd wasted years being half alive. One session Marcus broke down crying, ugly crying, the kind where you can't talk, can't breathe, can't do anything but feel. When he finally stopped, he looked at Dr. Mitchell with red eyes and said, "I hate this." She nodded. "I know. Why can't I just go back to not feeling anything?" "Because," she said gently, "that wasn't actually not feeling. It was suffering in silence. And Marcus, you deserve better than that." That hit him hard. He'd spent his whole life thinking he was tough for not complaining, not crying, not showing weakness. But the truth was, he'd just been scared. Scared of being vulnerable, scared of being seen as weak, scared that if he started feeling things, he'd never stop crying. The irony, now that he actually let himself feel things, he cried less than during those panic attacks. The emotions moved through him instead of getting stuck. Here's what Marcus wants you to know. If you're listening to this and you recognize yourself in his story, please hear this. You are not weak for struggling. You are human. You are not broken for feeling things. You are alive. And being strong at the cost of your mental and physical health isn't strength. It's slow self-destruction. Marcus almost lost everything before he learned this. His health, his marriage, his peace of mind. Don't wait for your body to scream at you. Don't wait for the panic attack. Don't wait until you are standing at your office window at 2 a.m. wondering what the hell is wrong with you. Listen now. Check in with yourself. How do you actually feel? Not how you think you should feel. Not how you tell people you feel. How do you actually, truly feel? And here's the hard question. When was the last time you let yourself fully feel something without immediately trying to fix it, change it, or push it away? If you can't remember, that's your answer, right there. Marcus isn't perfect now. He still has days where he slips into old patterns, where he tries to muscle through instead of feeling through. But he has tools now, real tools. Here's what actually helped him. Daily emotional check-ins. Every morning and evening, spend 2 minutes asking, "How do I feel right now?" Name it. Don't judge it. Just notice it. Body awareness practices. 5 minutes of body scanning. Notice where you hold tension. Breathe into those places. This isn't meditation. It's just paying attention. Permission to feel. Give yourself actual permission to feel things. Say out loud, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel scared. You'd be surprised how much this helps. Find your release valve. Everyone needs a healthy way to process emotions. For Marcus, it was running and journaling. For you, it might be talking to a friend, creating art, moving your body, or working with a therapist. Practice the pause. Between feeling something and reacting to it, pause. 3 deep breaths. Create space. This is where wisdom lives. Get professional support. Marcus resisted therapy for years. It was the best decision he ever made when he finally went. You don't have to do this alone. Marcus is still the VP at his company, still successful, still respected, but he's different now. He's not unflappable anymore. He's human. And you know what? He's actually better at his job because he can read people better. He can make decisions that consider not just the numbers, but the human impact. He can lead with both strength and compassion. Most importantly, he doesn't wake up at 2 a.m. with his chest tight, wondering what's wrong with him. Because nothing is wrong with him. Nothing was ever wrong with him. He was just doing what he was taught, being strong by suppressing, being tough by numbing, being professional by disconnecting. But real strength, real emotional fitness, it's about having the courage to feel everything and still show up for your life. It's about being flexible enough to bend without breaking. It's about trusting that your emotions aren't your enemy, they are your internal guidance system. It's about knowing that the body keeps the score not to punish you, but to protect you. If Marcus' story resonated with you, I want you to know something. You don't have to hit rock bottom to start this work. You don't have to wait for the panic attack, the breakdown, the health crisis. You can start today, right now, with one simple practice. Check in with yourself. Notice how you feel. And instead of pushing it away, just acknowledge it. I'm feeling stressed right now. I'm feeling sad right now. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. That's it. That's the beginning of emotional fitness. Because here is the truth. You are not a machine. You are not made of steel. You are a human being with feelings, needs, and limits. And honoring that isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. Thank you for listening to this story. If it resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And remember, understanding your mind is the first step to changing your life. Until next time, take care of yourself.